I have in my company someone who knows all about balls flying in the back of the net because he stopped most of them. He stopped most of them ever doing it. The greatest goalkeeper to ever grace the game of football in the world, bar none. Arsenal legend, England legend, David Safe Hands Seaman. What an honour to have the great man with me. David, welcome to you. And from Qatar, Liverpool, former Liverpool manager, of course, Graeme Souness. And a presenter from the United Stand podcast, Adam Stott, who already looks like he's throwing daggers at me. It's going to be a lively encounter with him about what he thinks has happened to his club following this Ronaldo interview. Can I get him to thank Cristiano by the end for getting rid of the Glazers? It'll be a tough gig, but we'll see how we get on. Let me start with you, David. I don't want to talk about armbands. I'm done with armbands. Yep. I've said my bit about that. I want to talk to you about Cristiano Ronaldo because it is the dominant story in world sport. It's the dominant. Thank you. Immediately, he immediately catches it. Do you see the way he swooped?
It was you that dropped it.
This is why these legends never lose it. Unbelievable. I just tested him. Look at that. The way he swept and put it back on. That's why he's called safe hands. It's interesting. You play with some great players.
Yeah.
You know, from Dennis Bergkamp to others. Let's start from the interview itself. If you'd been in the dressing room, one of the top players, Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp, Tony Adams, if one of them had come out and done an interview like this, what would your reaction have been?
I would applaud him because he's talking the truth, and it's not the stuff. A lot of the stuff that he came out with wasn't stuff that we haven't heard.
Yeah.
You know, we've heard a lot of other experienced players moaning and criticising Man United for the way that the ground is, the way that the training... It was really interesting when he said about the training ground. I couldn't believe it, that the training ground at Carrington was the same as when he left, 15 or so years ago. That really shocked me, because, at Arsenal, I go in there every week now and I see the improvement that they've done. You know, they've had an £18 million refurb.
And he was comparing it to what he experienced at Real Madrid and Juventus.
Exactly, yeah.
Where he said they would evolve all the time. Constant new technology, new diet, new nutrition. He wasn't having a pop at the chefs at United. He was having a pop at the food they were all preparing. He couldn't believe that they were just having the same stuff they were given 12 years before. Yeah,
and like I said, that shocked me, and that shouldn't be happening. And like you say, he's been all around the world and seen how everywhere's progressed. And then he comes back to his beloved Man United and nothing's changed.
He has no regrets whatsoever about doing the interview. No. I mean, I've spoken to him throughout the week. He's absolutely happy. He's glad he's got his freedom. He's glad it's over, albeit he still loves Manchester United as a club and he loves the fans and he doesn't want any ongoing issue with them. And I suspect they'll calm down over time, as they did when Roy Keane did the same thing on Man United TV. But should he have done the interview, do you think?
I would say yeah, because he put his side over. You know, there was a lot of stuff in the interview that I saw that I didn't know about. I didn't know about the way that he was being treated. You know, the stuff that was going on with Ten Hag. You know, the fact that, take for instance the substitution when he refused to go on. You know, as a footballer, he should never do that. You know, you've got to say, okay.
And he admitted that.
He had reason the week before.
Yeah.
You know, where he was told that I'm not putting you on because I respect you too much.
Yeah. So the next week he's thinking, well, he no longer respects me. Otherwise, why would he want me to come on? I want to play a clip before we go to Graeme Souness. And this is of Roy Keane today. It was the first time he's had a chance to address Ronaldo leaving United. Listen to what he said.
Obviously, the interview was a tipping point for him, but that's it. You know, life goes on. Man United, a great club. Ronaldo's a great player. As you said, it's like a divorce, it's like the end of a relationship. We all know how that feels. And you go your separate ways. Life goes on. Great player for Man United. Should have probably left in the summer. Yeah. But that's the player's fault or the club's. It was never going to happen. The new manager was never going to play him. You cannot have Ronaldo as a sub or fringe player. It's just not right. It's just not right. And it's sad, but these things happen.
Graeme Souness, thank you very much indeed for joining me again. Obviously, this is a fast-moving story and things have moved on again from when we last spoke. Ronaldo's now gone. Glazers may be selling up. Pretty tumultuous stuff over at United. But when you listen to what Roy Keane said there, I mean, that to me, I think he's right about, this stuff happens, Piers, and it's time to move on.
What did he say, Piers?
Are you saying he sat on the fence a bit?
Yeah, I think, which is very unusual for Roy.
Yeah.
He sat there and said that he's a great player, he's been a great servant, and not a lot else.
He did go on to say that he felt that he'd been mismanaged, Ronaldo, which is kind of what you've said as well about this. Now
Well,
it's all...
I would certainly agree with that. My take is the same. Take on it is the exact same as when we spoke before, when I was on your show. I think the two of them got together when Ronaldo stated he wanted to leave in the summer. The two of them go in a room, him and the manager. They come out of that room. Two people leave the room, and two of them are satisfied with what they've agreed. They lose to Brighton, they lose to Brentford, and all of a sudden it's chaos at Man United. I think the manager panicked, his coaching staff panicked. We need not so much a victim, but we need to analyse where we're going wrong, and I think they've come up with the wrong analysis. I think they've looked at, we can't press with Ronaldo on our team. Now, my take on it as a football person, I don't believe Ronaldo, even at 37, I don't think Man United can be doing without Ronaldo at this time in their development, where they want to be. I think it's been an enormous case of mismanagement. I think it's an enormous case of lack of speaking to each other, communication. If the manager and the staff have decided after 2 games, because they've lost 2 games, we're going to go a different route after having agreed with Ronaldo before any games are played, they had to communicate that to Ronaldo. Because what happened after that was you've touched on already. They don't bring him on against Man City. They ask him to go on against Tottenham. A week after that, or 10 days after that, they ask him to be captain. They are really mixed messages for a player to accept.
Yeah.
And when the word disrespect was used by Ronaldo, I think that's saying that someone has gone back on their words. And who can it be? It can only be the Man United manager.
Right.
He has changed whatever he said before a ball was kicked to where he got to the situation where he came out and made his statement with you. Disrespect. I think someone's changed their minds on it.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, let's go to Adam Stott, presenter of United Stand.
And I think that's where the anger comes from.
Right.
Piers, I have to say that I think the stuff about swimming pools and kitchen, that really doesn't come into the argument why he's leaving Man United. He's leaving Man United because he still feels he's a football nut. We know that.
Yeah.
Look at him, he's a specimen. There is not out there, and I've said this again, there is not a better example you could have in your dressing room. Surely you want to keep that. Man United are a country mile away from where they need to be as the great football club that they are. They ain't going to be winning the Champions League anytime soon. They will not be winning the Premier League anytime soon. Ronaldo is a role model. You'd have to explain this to him. I want you here because this, that, and that. Him as a role model, you could not name me a better one in the history of football.
Right.
Not in this generation, in the history of football.
Yeah.
For me, I would have fought to keep him. I would have pleaded with him to stay because I need you. If you're a young fella in that dressing room, prior to Ronaldo turning up, who do you look at in the dressing room and say, in 10 years' time, I want to be like him? So Ronaldo turns up, everyone in the dressing room says, in 10 years' time, I want to be like him. I think it's a mistake in letting him go, but time will tell.
Interesting stuff, Graeme. Thank you. Let's go to Adam Stott. Well, Adam, look, don't listen to what I have to say about this. I'm an Arsenal fan. I don't really care how tumultuous things get at United, but I'm also an interviewer. And I sat with Ronaldo, and he gave me his side. In his eyes, he was correcting a lot of untruths that had been said about him. So it was more a riposte, if you like, a rebuttal of a lot of things. As a United fan, what's your feeling about all this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm listening to what Graeme said there at the start of the season, and Ronaldo, in your interview, Piers, went on about the start of the season. No, pre-season was why, and he understood why he didn't start the season. But in the Brighton game, he played 37 minutes. The Brentford game, he played the full 90. We lost both of them games. It wasn't a knee-jerk reaction. We just went back to basics. Ten Hag went to the training ground and thought up a different plan. Ronaldo didn't start the next 4 games. The next 4 games, Manchester United won and turned their season around. A manager has to make a decision for the better of the team. And if that doesn't involve Cristiano Ronaldo at that time, then that's down on the manager. And it worked for the manager. People were being over the top with Ten Hag's team selection for the Liverpool game. I remember talking to Graeme Souness just on the eve of that game with the protests. And Graeme Souness thought that the protest would be a hindrance on Manchester United going into that game. It didn't. The crowd came together and they got behind the team. And that team didn't have Cristiano Ronaldo in it. The fans got behind whoever was on that pitch that wanted to give it 100%. And there is a general consensus within the United fan base. Ronaldo hasn't been giving that 100%, whether that be for his opinion on how he's been treated the fans are seeing what's going on the pitch more. We don't see everything on behind the scenes, obviously, but what counts is what happens on the pitch. And he hasn't been performing this season in particular. And the team is playing better without Ronaldo.
I mean, you
in
say
it,
that.
and
Look,
that's shown
you say that.
how we've progressed up the league.
I'm in a blissful position of Arsenal being top of the league by 5 points and 11 points clear of United.
Yep.
You've got to go to the playoffs now against Barcelona.
We beat you without Ronaldo.
Right, you've got to get to the playoffs against Barcelona in the Europa League, which you may lose. I'm not quite sure this constitutes a great revolution so far. Ten Hag is completely unproven outside of Holland. And the point that Graeme made, which really resonated with me, and I think I know the answer, is that if you're in that dressing room, why wouldn't you see him as the greatest role model there's ever been? Actually, one of the big concerns Ronaldo had was, unlike him, when he walked into that dressing room as an 18-year-old and saw Scholes and Giggs and Keane and Ferdinand and wanted to soak all he could off them in terms of experience and expertise, a lot of these young United players earn too much money and don't care and didn't really want to do that with him. I found that staggering.
Yeah, no, I can understand that side of it. And when Ronaldo did that interview, one of the many few he did last season, saying that the younger players didn't want to take his advice, I was fully on board with that. The problem that we've had with Ronaldo is the fact we didn't think he should have done the interview with yourself, Piers, in the way it was. He was under contract at Manchester United. He talked about the times have changed since Sir Alex Ferguson left the football club. I guarantee he wouldn't have done this interview with yourself if Sir Alex Ferguson was still manager of the football club. It's what we've seen as like going behind the manager's back. The fans support the manager. We support the manager. He's the biggest man at this football club. Famous words that came out of Sir Alex Ferguson's mouth. And that's who the fans will be behind. If
Well, you'll support him
is
until...
upset about not being in the team.
You'll support him until you get rid of him, like the last few you've had. I mean, let's be honest. Every manager since Ferguson has had your universal support, United fans, right to the point they've been slung out. That's been part of the problem. But look, Graeme, you've been shaking your head listening to some of this. Do you want to riposte?
No. Sorry. What's the chap? What's the United
Adam
supporter
Stott.
called? Hi, Adam. Adam, I think you know what you said. A lot of it is correct. It's a manager's decision to go down a different route if he feels his team are not at it, or it's not working, his game plan. But where I'm coming from, I think he has to communicate that to Ronaldo. Listen, we had that conversation. I think that's the word disrespect sticks in my head.
Yeah.
That's saying someone by deed or words is not carried through on what they're either going to do or say. And I think they had an agreement. 2 games later, the manager's changed and gone down a different route. That is a manager's prerogative. But I think at that time, it's not been, from the outside looking in, I don't know anything, that's not being communicated to Ronaldo, because if it had been communicated to Ronaldo, I don't think the word disrespect would come out. And I think you said you turned the season round. I think turned it round from the first 2 games that you lost, picked up a few points. But I've been in dressing rooms. I constantly see on when I'm on television that you cannot be successful as a manager stroke coach unless you've got good senior pros. That is a fact of life as I see it, and I think it has borne it if you look at the clubs that have been successful. You look at your club over the years, here's a perfect example.
Yeah.
He keeps Gary Neville a couple of years. I'm going to go and have dinner with him after this. He'll be upset. He kept Gary Neville maybe 2 years longer than he should have done. Paul Scholes left and brought him back. He kept Ryan Giggs on to us about 35, 36, because they had good senior pros who made sure people turned up on time, trained properly, they were at it every day in training, and their attitude to games when it mattered. You need good senior pros, and I come back to it, you could not get a better example of a good senior pro than Ronaldo.
Yeah.
And also, when he was sent to train with the kids, the word is he was nigh on perfect the way he trained with the kids.
I heard that.
So I come back to it. You cannot have enough good senior pros.
Graeme, I've got to leave it there. Adam, thank you very much indeed. I appreciate it. Final word to you, David. Last night, I was sitting next to you when news broke that Ronaldo was now available.
Yep.
And your immediate reaction was, well, we should take him at Arsenal for the rest of the season.
Totally. I was like, we'd have him, and we both agreed.
I totally agree.
You know, even like listening to Graeme there, you know, he's talking about Ronaldo is not done. He's far from done. You know,
And we actually need a good natural predatory goal
he'd be
scorer, right?
perfect for Arsenal, you know, and he'd be perfect to a lot of other clubs.
Yes.
You know, where he gets the respect.
Yeah, I
you know,
agree.
you never heard any players moaning about Sir Alex Ferguson
No.
about a lack of respect.
No, absolutely right. We're going to leave you, David Seaman, with a replay of your brilliant save of my pen. Let's have a look at this.
It's a Sorry. It's a
There
dominant.
you go. Look at that. Instant. I mean, it was so fast.
Clean catch, clean catch.
David, great to see you.
Pleasure,
Really
mate.
appreciate you
Thank you.
coming in, mate.